Well, hi, this is Jay Arthur. Now, why does Six Sigma fail? And it fails over a third of the time. That's like 1 Sigma level failure. Well, over the years, the last 25 years, I've been studying what goes on, what works and what doesn't work. Why does it succeed and why does it fail? And it turns out I started to build some root causes in my brain about how that all works. All right, and the first one I believe is training. Because all of the training, the green belt, the black belt training is all designed to train people to be able to succeed in any situation, and mainly in manufacturing. All right, it all grew out of the manufacturing environment. And so what it's trying to do is make you really successful at fixing stuff on a factory floor where you're mixing ingredients and you need hypothesis testing to figure out how things to go together. But here's the deal, 80% of the nation is involved in service industries. And most of the manufacturing organization is all robotics, okay? It's all automated. And the service side of that business is the place where everything goes wrong. So guess what? We're teaching people stuff they don't need to know to solve problems they don't have, to impress people they probably don't like. And so what do we have to do? Well, we have to change the training. So we need to shorten the training from 2 weeks or 4 weeks down to a single day. And you can go out to my website. I have my 1-day Lean Six Sigma Yellow Belt training for free online. I charge for certification, but the training is free, right? Because we need more people who know how to do the basic things to solve the basic problems. All right? And so we don't want it to be too long, too complex, too whatever. And the other thing that comes out of this is very often you find that either A, the training does not include software, so people don't actually go back to their job and start solving problems because they don't have software to do the job, right? Or they end up with really complex old mini computer style software. Now, mini computers, you had to know what you're doing and fill in all the blanks and all that kind of stuff. And it's just a crazy interface, and that was brought into the PC, but that's not the way the PC works. It's point and click, right? Point and click. And so when I built the QI macros, I didn't know any better, so I just built it point and click because that's how it was, and that's how Excel worked. All right, and so there's a very different approach there. And a lot of that software is so expensive, you can't afford to give it to everybody. So what happens? The black belt works with a team, they solve a problem, and then they make the improvement, but then they don't put in a control system to make it all stay, right? To sustain that improvement. And there's nobody there to draw the charts unless the black belt becomes the chart master of the organization, in which case, it's kind of messy. That's not a great way to go about it. And so what happens is that improvement decays over time because there's no monitoring. There's nothing. There's no control or performance charts running out there to make sure that, hey, we're staying at the new level. And I see this so much, right? Wah, 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 yay, poof, it falls down after about 6 months. So I see all this all the time. Improvement, failure, improvement, failure, improvement, failure. And guess what happens? If you do that, your leadership team is going to get smart at some point and go, this Six Sigma stuff isn't working, they'll shut it down. And I've seen that happen a lot as well, right? The cycle time of most Six Sigma implementations is about 3 years, the rise and the fall. And so what do we have to do to change that? Well, a lot of this old software is designed so that you have to think through and decide what chart to choose before you can then go do a chart. Or you have to decide what kind of statistics you want to do before you go choose a chart. Or you have to know something about what you want to analyze before you can start to figure out how to summarize the data. Well, guess what? That's why in the QI macros we have control chart wizards that'll pick the right chart for you. Data mining wizards that'll help you analyze all this row by row defect data and help you accelerate the whole process of analysis. Now, you can spend your lifetime trying to figure out how to do that on your own, or you can click a button and get an answer. Yeah, I'm kind of a results guy, right? And then when I was working, my leadership team expected results. That Six Sigma TQM stuff, that's all nice and well and good, but hey, are we improving the bottom line? Are we reducing defects? Are we increasing our profit margins by reducing costs? What are we doing, right? And so there's this whole problem in terms of how we're implementing. And those other old mini computer style things actually take longer to learn. They have as much as 4 or 5 days built into a 4-week training to learn how to use that software. That's too long. You can learn the QI macros in under an hour, all right? Once you learn the basics about that, you can get going, right? And I do that all the time when I train companies live and in person. Now, the other thing we're doing, is in our training is it's all manufacturing focused instead of service focused. If you get rid of all that manufacturing stuff, there's a handful of tools that'll solve the vast majority of problems in service industries, all right? And so we could get from being loaded with hassle every time we try and do something to a hassle-free environment. And that's what I want to do. I'd like to get out of the business of fixing other people's stuff, troubleshooting other people's software, fixing things that shouldn't be broke, right? And having to scrap stuff that I can't do anything with. So does this make sense? There's all these things that are a barrier to Six Sigma. And if we remove those barriers, if we get those barriers out of the way, collapse into a one-day training, use the QI macros, we can get people up and running in a hurry. And if we do it using their data, solving their problems straight away, they connect this to something that's going to be very powerful. And then they'll start to do it. And if the software is affordable enough, we can give it to everybody, right? So the belt can help a team solve a problem, and then they can leave a copy of the software with somebody in there to control chart and map that process and make sure it stays at that new level. Otherwise, guess what? It decays. And I see this over and over again. And I think it's very disappointing, right? Because we have this great tool set, this great methodology, and guess what? It's just not doing what we hoped it would do. In 25 years, I'd have thought we'd have just ramped the heck up and everybody would be doing it. No, not happening. All right, we have failed somehow to make this work. And so those are just a few thoughts. I encourage you to do your own kind of root cause analysis. Why isn't Six Sigma working? What do I need to do to fix it? Does this make sense? And when you do that, what are my countermeasures? What am I going to put in place to change all of that? Because I'm telling you, if you do that, your Six Sigma effort will have a better chance of succeeding, your leadership team will be less likely to kill it, and you can actually start to really enjoy the fruits of all these improvements and increases in productivity, reduction in cost, reduced rework, employees get happier, customers get happier, leadership teams get happier. It can all be done. All right, so that's it. Those are the root causes of these problems.